Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Cool topic today.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, on one hand, I'm excited about doing the podcast about it, but I'm not really excited about
Yeah, that's very true.
the elements we're talking about because
Yeah.
we're talking about a downturn in the economy.
Well,
What do you do?
so I talk with all my other business buddies, and everyone seems to be in consensus that it's kind of a slower period for everybody, at least in the trades.
Yeah.
Painters, a little slower. The glass people, a little slower.
Yep.
You know, everything's a little slower. And so part of our job is to kind of like figure out, well, why? You know, we have to analyze why we're doing, and we have to realize that there are business cycles that come naturally
Yeah.
in any business. And then there's seasonal things and lots of variables.
Yeah, and as a business owner, it's incumbent upon you to understand what's going on in the larger economy so that you can plan for the survival of your own business.
Right.
You know, those that don't plan plan to fail.
Absolutely.
You know,
And it affects everything a little bit differently. So when you have like our realtor friends, they're like, well, houses just aren't selling as fast as they were, a year ago.
yes,
Which means that the mortgage people aren't closing as many homes as they were a year ago. And
right. And the banks have all tightened up.
banks have tightened up. The interest rates are high.
Yep.
Home values are still high. People
Yep.
can't afford this. So which affects ripple effects down to us where
Yeah.
people just aren't having that home maintenance stuff
Yeah.
done initially.
Well, when I knew we were going to do this podcast, I did a little research, and I've been in business. I've been in business for around 40 years.
Yeah.
In business for myself, probably 30 years. Pardon me. And I remember way back in college that we talked about a business cycle. And so I did a little research on it to see, and I'm going to go over this really quick. I have a couple of notes on what the business cycle is.
Okay.
And let's see if we can figure out where we are as business owners
Right.
in this, okay? So the number one and really exciting phase of the business cycle is expansion. And that's characterized by low interest rates. You've got increased productivity overall. You have rising employment. So times are getting good, okay? And we've had that. We've been in that phase for a while, it feels like.
Yeah.
The natural culmination of that expansion phase is called peak. You've arrived. It isn't going to get any better. Growth is maxed out. Productivity is maxed out. Full employment maxed out. That's at peak, okay? And so naturally, if you're kind of at the top of the mountain, the next thing after peak is you're going to begin nosing over the other way.
Gotta crest that.
And this is called contraction. And it's characterized by seeing the economic growth slow down. Your employment rate will fall, so there's more unemployment, and you'll see overall production slow. And I get, if I was to pick one, my sense is that this is kind of where our economy is right now.
Yeah.
We're kind of, because we're seeing rising interest rates. We're seeing employment, although this is the sticky thing that the economists now are going like, employment's still hanging in there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And contraction is going to happen until you sort of hit bottom. And that in the business cycle, that's called the trough. So you're at the bottom of the wave, okay? And that's marked by, the absolute minimum in supply and demand. Everything is very slow. You have very high interest rates. And in fact, it is the most painful part of the business cycle.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of things going on once you hit the trough. You have people being laid off, jobs are lost, companies shutter their doors, very difficult to borrow money for businesses. There's a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
The upside of the trough is that the next step is in the business cycle, you're hitting expansion again.
The compensation.
And it's called a business cycle for a reason. And as long as I've been in business, this has been going on for centuries. This cycle of expansion, hitting peak, then contraction, and then trough.
Yeah.
And it just is what the business cycle is. There's very little you can do to insulate against it because it hits everyone in an economy when it hits.
But as a business owner, we have to know this. When we have to plan for, it's not a matter of, well, what happens if? No. What happens when it happens?
It's going to happen, yeah.
How are you going to navigate? And that's what I want to talk about today is how do you navigate business when there is a slowdown, you know? And frankly, when this happens, you have to assess, well, why is there a slowdown, right?
Yeah, and I would argue you need to be constantly assessing what is going on. Where are interest rates? What is the pace of the economy? Are people hiring or are they laying off?
Yeah.
Okay, is production up? Is production down? Is your phone ringing more? Is your phone ringing less? Are for hole in the wall, are the jobs we picking up paying more or paying less?
Yeah. Yeah, and are they coming easily or not? You know, because 6 months, a year ago, we were batting the jobs away. We couldn't handle all the jobs, but now it's like we're not as selective. We can do more work.
That's right.
And I remember it was years ago in a previous company I worked for, and we would vacillate between first quarter and second quarter being up or down, and we couldn't figure out what that trend was. And like, well, how come this year March was great, and then the next year March was bad? You know, but the April was great, and we realized that, well, wait a second, Easter falls between the first quarter or second quarter, depending on what year it lands.
Oh.
Sometimes it's in March, sometimes it's in April. And we realized that the business that I was in back then, people weren't doing shows because I was in production.
So Easter was a disruptor in your industry.
Was a disruptor. So we then could plan for, okay, well, Easter lands in April this year, so we can plan for a slowdown in April versus March, right? So knowing the seasonal things, I think was important for us back then. And then
that's understanding your business.
That's understanding your business. And like right now, we're like we haven't had much of a trend to slow down during the summer lately. But pre-COVID, we could see that when the kids were out of school, then families are on vacation.
Right.
They're taking their discretionary cash instead of remodeling something. They're going on vacation. They're going out of town.
Yeah.
And now that COVID is over, people are traveling more. AAA said there's more people traveling now than there has been in the past 5 years.
Oh.
So people are on vacation more now than they were even pre-COVID. Orlando Airport is that way. They're like saying we've had more people travel now. They don't even have enough places to park the cars because people are fleeing the city to go on vacation, which affects our business. You know, so that's just a knowing your business type of thing.
And then, so what do you do after you've got the information because you've been assessing the situation and following what's going on? What are some steps you can take?
Well, you've got to what do we call it?
Pull in the gangplanks.
Pull in the gangplanks.
Yeah. Just batten down the hatches.
You know, just brace for impact a little bit.
Yes.
You know, you stop spending on things that are non-essential, right? So maybe we had a certain event that we were going to do, or we had certain activities planned. We just kind of pull those back a little bit.
Yeah.
Without sacrificing employee benefits and morale, right? So we don't want to do that. We don't want to like stop paying payroll and stuff like that, obviously. But you know, if it's whether it's a luncheon, whether it's an experiment, like we were doing an experiment with HomeAdvisor, right? So that experiment, I was running a 60-day experiment on. We are going to do leads on HomeAdvisor, and we're just going to see what the ROI is on that. And it for this time period, it wasn't benefiting us. So we pulled in that game plan because that was the tune of hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, every month, wasn't it?
Every month, the tune even more than that. And so we were able to pull kind of that game plan in. Also, when we hit this same downtime during COVID, we had to do some. You know, there's not a lot of jobs coming in. People weren't letting us in their homes. We were still working. We were still essential, but we weren't as busy. We also took that time to kind of prune. Like we needed to prune not only our expenses, but maybe there were some employees that were just kind of not cutting it.
Yeah.
And so when you have to cut an employee, you look at, well, who's the person that, you know, isn't really helping us as much.
Yeah, and that's a valid warning to all employees, really.
Yeah.
You know, when the music stops, don't be Don't be the low man on the totem pole. Don't be the one that doesn't have a chair.
Yeah. And that's just business. We just have to. I never want to fire anybody.
Of course.
If we have to, then it's the person that doesn't help the company the most.
Correct.
The low man on the totem pole for sure.
Yep.
One of the things that we started doing here is we started going back to existing customers and just offering them, hey, just kind of pinging them, hey, here we are. Just if you need anything, now's the time to do it. We were offering special promotions. If you booked with us in the month of July, you got another 10% discount.
Yeah.
And hitting those, even if we ran an estimate and that estimate has not responded yet, we return back with this one-time offer, this great deal. We can give you
time and effort well spent.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I want to warn people on, though, is when you are starting to cut non-essential costs, is it's not the time, though, to pull back on your marketing. It's kind of the time to lean into it a little bit. And hopefully,
I think we both agree on that.
Yeah, and hopefully you've built a machine where you're not, we're slow, let's turn on things. That's a reactionary type.
Yes.
And you don't want to run a business reacting like that.
Well, you've obviously been caught flat-footed then.
Because it takes time. You want to light up an online presence, a Google presence. You want to light up an SEO campaign or a pay-per-click campaign, a Facebook ad. Those take time to get traction. And so you can't just say, well, I'm slow this week, let me light up. Because then once you light it up, it takes some time to kind of work that system. And then once you work that system, then people call for estimates, and you could be 60 days before you really have any kind of traction on that. So you don't stop it. If anything, lean into it. We were a little slower, so we talked to Trish. We're going to lean into it. We're going to bump up our ads. We're going to bump up our presence. And then make sure your online presence is good. Take this time when you're slower to analyze everything that you have online. We just redid our website. We're redoing our franchise website. Just to kind of give things a little fresher look and just to kind of take that time to tweak it.
Yeah, and I would argue don't just look at your stuff online. Look at everything in your organization top to bottom, because if you're a little slower, it's absolutely an exquisite time to take a closer look at everything you do to see if you can find efficiencies, see if you can find waste or improvements.
And there's a trap that lately we're doing where we think marketing is only online. And marketing is not just online. Marketing is your brand awareness. It's what we want to call the top of the mind. So not everyone needs drywall repair, but we want to have our exposure out there. So when they do, they think of us. We're top of the mind. Oh well, drywall. Hole in the Wall. Hole in the Wall is your drywall company. Yeah. So how do you do that? Well, that could be a mailer. It could be a billboard. It could be like we have one bus stop bench, that we
and it's so well positioned.
It's great because everyone stops at that light, and there's 60,000 people a day see that bench. Every time we update the ad on, I go, I saw your bench today. It's silly. It's like, well, but it's a bench. No, it's we have that brand awareness that's out there. So don't stop marketing. Don't focus only on social media is great because it's economical. Like I can do Facebook ads cheaper than I can do a radio spot, on the local
and Lord knows they're effective.
Absolutely, they're very effective. Print media. Some people say it's dead. Some people say it's not dead. If it's economical, maybe we do mailers. Maybe we put an article in the local newspaper. Those
always been a fan of that.
Yeah. And then I said it before, it's important to think of a promotion. You see the car ads. Hey, it's the Labor Day sale. Come on down. Low interest rates. There's no reason why we can't offer that in small business too.
And it's probably the wrong time to pull back from doing shows. I know that you've got one lined up with the Chamber of Commerce within the next couple of weeks. And again, you talk about leaning in. This is a really great time to be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's important that you can't stop doing business. You just could be wiser about how you spend the dollars. Yeah, that's all. I think one of the things that we've done here, which I kind of want to encourage others to do, is when it is slow, don't just sit back and just wait, because you can't. When in the military, they're either at war or they're training to be at war, right? They're investing always in their personnel. Yeah, and so we're slower. Okay, well, great. Well, what do we do? Well, we're going to do a training. So if I've got 5 hours to spare in a week, then I have a training facility here. So we just did one Friday. We did
we did one on
brought
Friday.
some of the new guys in. We punched some holes in the walls, and we made them, and then we trained them more. We sharpened their skill set. We invested in the employee. When you're low and slow, this way when we're back at war, we're ready to go to action.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's true, and that's a very valid point.
Yeah, and then take the time, even as a business owner, what are you doing to sharpen your skills as an owner? Are you listening to a podcast? Are you reading a book? Are you having engagements and lunches and meetings with smarter people than you are? If you always think that you're the smartest person in the room, then you're not. You have to always be leaning into somebody who has more advice. I'm really excited about a guest we got coming up soon, Sanjay. He is an expert in business strategy, and we're going to talk all about that in a future podcast.
Yeah.
That's going to be something that we're going to learn from ourselves.
I would like to say I've always taken the position, I assume I'm not the smartest person in the room, and if I just keep my mouth shut and listen, I often learn something.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a really great way to operate, rather than always, my dad used to say, instead of broadcasting all the time, turn your receiver on.
I like that. Turn your receiver on. It's a good opportunity to also analyze your pricing. Is your pricing fit for the market? In your location, when we are analyzing franchises, the prices that we have in Orlando may not fit the price for another market.
Yeah.
And if the economy is tight, maybe your prices are too high. Maybe you need to tighten the ranks in. It's funny, whenever Disney has too many people in the park, they adjust their price. They raise their price of their tickets. This way it slows capacity down a little bit, and they still make money. They raise parking prices. But when there is slow and there's not a lot of people there, they do discounts. They change the pricing.
Well, I think it's probably a good time when it's slow to, like you said, talk about your prices, but also tout other benefits of doing business with you.
Yeah.
We have things in Hole in the Wall, like a warranty, 1-year warranty. That's something for somebody. I got an assurance that if something goes wrong within a year, that, we have logo trucks, we have, uniformed employees.
Yeah, background check employees.
These are benefits to the customer.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably an area you want to dig in on as well.
Yeah, I agree completely. And then you want to, maybe there's some partnerships that you can do depending on the business that you're in. Like for us, we do a lot of work with solar companies and restoration companies, and we do a lot of work with roofing companies. Well, now's the time to really build those relationships so you have those strategic partnerships already at play. So if you can work together with other businesses, then you can build your network together. And again, to stress, these are all things that you should be doing early before it hits. It's like, don't wait until the hurricane shows up before you go buy batteries and water. We'll start buying those early so you don't get to stress over it later. And pre-position yourself with these different things so you can navigate some rough times, because they're going to pass. We just talked about a business cycle. Things go up, things go down.
Yeah.
So if it's happening right now, it's going to pass. As long as you're doing your job, as long as you're leaning into it and you got a service that people need and want, it's going to change for you.
Yeah.
Ready to start your own business? How would you like a jumpstart? Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair is now offering franchise opportunities for strong entrepreneurs. When you franchise with Hole in the Wall, we help you get up, running, and ready to start generating revenue fast. You get access to our comprehensive training program, continued support, and our proven business model that has allowed us to experience explosive growth. Achieve financial success while providing a valuable service to your community. Take the first steps towards achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.
Here's a strategy I like really well when times get slow, is diversifying your revenue stream. I like that strategy really well. For us, we do drywall repair work, but if it came to it, we have a similar skill set to installing drywall on a large scale, or painting. We do a lot of that. So these are and light carpentry. We do, so we could diversify out, into some of that kind of stuff and see if we could find, we have spray rigs that we do texture work with. So there's an opportunity there where we could get out and maybe provide texturing services for people.
Yeah.
That could be an entire new stream of income for us.
Yeah, and we're in a niche industry, so other people can do drywall repair. We're kind of in a niche world, but we could be even more nichey. Like, we want to do popcorn ceiling removals. right? So
yeah.
with those who don't know, popcorn is the styrofoam bits that are on the ceiling that they used to use to help acoustic noises, and especially in Florida, they had trouser floors, and it helped with the echoes.
Yep.
But people don't like it, so we spend a lot of time removing it and replacing it with
We do a lot of that.
Beautiful ceiling. But I believe that business has got a cycle. Eventually, there's going to be a slowdown in the popcorn ceiling world.
Yes.
It's just going. There's enough new homes, and people are remodeling the old homes that there's not going to be so it's not sustainable to me long term as a huge business model.
Right.
So you have to diversify off of popcorn removal into flood cuts and into maybe minor stucco repair or painting, things like that. So it's all part of the analysis on that. And I remember years ago when, there was times back in the day when you and I we wouldn't even take a paycheck, and we would just make sure that the guys were done, and we would catch up down the road.
Well, with small business, you do whatever's necessary.
Yeah. And so you just figure out, we'll sacrifice now, and then we'll get paid down the road.
Yep.
And then you can only run on a credit card so long. I got a $10,000 credit card. Great. Well, that's a good buffer. So you can go to Home Depot, and you can, I'm going to buy supplies for a job site and then get paid for it in, 15 days. That's great. But you need to have this relationship with money a little bit differently. We just had Steve Fulmer on here from Commerce Bank, and he talked about having a relationship with your banker is important.
Yeah.
But why would you do that? Well, if you know early enough in the stage, and the banker knows your business, then he can set you up with like a line of credit.
Yeah.
Right. He can set you up with a different credit card. For us, we ended up switching a lot to our rewards Amex card. So now we have that buffer. You pay it off every month, so you have that 30-day buffer on certain things, and then you can build some rewards up. But you have to, we just said it a second ago, and you mentioned it earlier, but we have to pre-position these resources ahead of time.
Yeah.
Like again, the military staged things during the Cold War. They staged them in other countries just in case something,
Well, you don't want to go get a line of credit after you've lost your job.
Yeah.
Or when your house is being foreclosed on because you're out of, you've been laid off and you're out of cash.
Yeah.
You might want to go get that pre-positioned before you, beforehand. You may never need it, but boy, isn't it great if it's there when you do?
Yeah. Well, and that's why you have a credit card, right? It's great. So a family member died and you want to fly to the funeral, you got a credit card to do that.
Yeah.
But you need to have the same thing in business. We save at home. We encourage all of our employees, and we, take some money, put it in your retirement fund, take some money, put it in a savings account, have a vacation fund. Well, in business, we need to have the same thing. I know that here we tell our bookkeeper always have at least one payroll in savings ready to go. So if we can't make payroll, we know we got
it's right there in the bank.
In the bank,
Yep.
And then we always have enough receivables that will come in and cover. So we always take care of our employees.
Yep.
If not, and what if you can't? What if you're a new business owner, and you may not be able to qualify for a big line of credit? Well, there are other ways out there. We found a company early in the game. It's called Fundbox. And what Fundbox does is it ties into our QuickBooks files.
Yeah.
And we basically sold invoices to Fundbox. So if I had a receivable that was $2,000, I could go to Fundbox and say, I would like to collect on that now through Fundbox. It would transfer the money into our account, and then we could pay it off over 12 or 24 weeks at a small interest rate.
That was a valuable lifeline.
It was
in those early years, wasn't it?
Yeah, we would have $20,000 out there in invoices, and we're like, well, we need that money right this second. So it's a short-term thing. There's no prepayment penalties. It was one of those.
Right.
It wasn't great, but you can qualify for something like that much easier than you could like a line of credit.
Yeah. Well, what else do you suppose we ought to do as a business owner when you see time slowing down? How about offering promotions? Mm-hmm. Did you cover that?
A little bit, just discounts and
discounting.
Yeah. We toyed with the idea of. I mean, we do like a veteran discount and stuff, but our margins are a little tighter in the drywall, so it's not like we're Home Depot where all bets get 15% off. It's not as easy as that for us. But we mentioned it with our crew earlier, with our management here. It's like, listen, the job may not be as profitable at a lower price, but what is happening is the cash is coming in the door.
And you're keeping your employees working.
And you're keeping your employees working. So sometimes it's better to take the promotion, and you can do a promotion without augmenting all your prices. And if it's for a time period, then when that time period's over, you can go back to your normal pricing without the customer saying, well, hey, I paid,
that's a really good point, actually.
I got a discount. You said I could get 10% off. It's like, well, that was for that month or that season. So, well, I think it's important that we talk about it. It's not going to be a very long podcast today, but I think we really hit a few key points.
One more I want to hit really quick, and you kind of touched on it earlier, just investing in your team.
Yeah.
We're trying to, when it's slow, we're training some of our young guys. And frankly, those young guys are the backbone of the company just a couple of years down the road.
Yeah,
they join the main core of our team. I think it's very valuable. And I encourage even our middle guys that have been here for 4, 5, 6, 8 years, that when they have time off, go sit in the front office. Go sit with our general manager and see what he does during the day. Begin learning and understanding what's going on there. I mean, you have to be a little bit of a self-starter to do that, but you're upskilling yourself. And we've been talking a lot about leveling up around here lately.
Yeah.
And there's a challenge on a personal level for employees to level up.
Yep.
Dress a little cleaner, gain some new skills. Okay. See the world a little differently. Get out of your day-to-day. Get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. When Mike Elliott was transitioning into the office from a field worker, he was hands down probably one of, if not the best field worker we had. And it was a hard pill for us to swallow to lose him as the revenue producer to move to a management seat.
Yeah, he was a high producer.
He thought he didn't really have a good idea of what the office life was like. Like when you're on job site, he's like, "Oh, why did these guys schedule me this way? Why did this happen that way?" And then he sits in the office and he realizes that, wait a second, we need to have the scheduling set up differently and the phone calls happen differently. And he's like, it's a completely different world. The office crew has no idea what's going on. Sorry, the field crew has no idea what's going on in the office.
They don't.
And so when they come in and sit down to kind of see the hassle, when they show up to a job site a little bit late and the customer's calling us complaining, and then we call the technician, "Where are you?" "Why are you bothering me? I'll be there soon."
Right. Well, stop, get gas.
Yeah. I had to go to the bathroom. And they don't see that, well, we've just got a phone call with an irate customer because you said 8:30 and you're not there till 8:45, 9 o'clock. I've got to take my kids to school. So that's good advice. That's good advice. So I've got a concluding statement, but it's written down better than I can come off the cuff with. So
read
forgive
it to
me.
us.
I'm gonna
give us a good read. I'm a good listener.
And read this. Maybe I should put on my radio voice. And
I thought that was your normal voice.
But a slowdown in business can be a daunting challenge for small business owners. It also presents an opportunity to reassess, adapt, and innovate. By assessing the situation, cutting non-essential costs, focusing on existing customers, pre-positioning financial resources, and diversifying revenue streams, small business owners can proactively navigate through tough times. Investing in marketing, offering promotions, and enhancing the online presence can help attract new customers and maintain visibility in the market. Remember, adaptability and proactive approach are keys to thriving through slowdowns and positioning your business for long-term success.
Hear, hear.
So it's important to think about when it's going to happen, because it's going to happen.
Going to happen.
And how are you going to navigate that when it does happen? So that's our show today.
No, it's a good one. Good thoughts, relevant to where we are currently in the business cycle.
Yep.
Hopefully we're talking to ourselves, but hopefully we're also being able to help some of our listeners here.
Yeah. And we'll put this actually a blog post we'll post on our franchise site.
I think it's relevant. I think it's going to be a good blog post.
Absolutely.
All right, James. Till next week.
Great show. Thanks everyone for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.